What's up, everybody? My name is Rayan, or most people like to call me Ray. I'm 23 years old and I'm a producer from Norway. I work with several artists as Kanye, Kodak Black, Future, recently Dua Lipa. So yeah, appreciate you for having me, man.
Of course. And you know what's crazy? I had no idea you worked with Kanye, so this is already a surprise to me. Yeah, the way that, so for those who are listening, the way that this is actually my first time talking to Ray. And I was recommended to reach out to him by someone that I've met. His name's Peyton. I met him through Kadoku.
Hey, man.
Yeah, so I'm really glad he told me to reach out to you because he was right. Already I'm already enjoying this, your energy, everything. You're saying you told me before we started the podcast that you're in finals. What are you taking in school right now?
So right now I'm studying business. I have a major or I'm about to do a major in international management. The funny thing is that in August I'm about to move to New York to attend a university there to get my final or to get my degree. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to move there because from there I can really just expand with my music and stuff. So I'm just excited, man. Other than that, I don't really care about the university. I just want it to be over with.
Yeah. That's interesting. What are you? Which university would you be going to in New York?
University.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's really dope. You're right. The fact that you'll be able to move there and you'll have access to so much more opportunities. And speaking of that, how have you come about? I mean, so those are some insane credits. How have you come about those types of opportunities living in Norway? Not that you can't, but it's just very interesting to me. I don't hear a lot. I'm from there in that respect.
You know what? It's just a whole lot of networking, man. Like at the start when I started this, because I started producing like 2018, I believe.
Wow.
I thought that, you had to be in the US in order to like become a music producer full time. Because at the time I didn't know about OZ, for example, or Cubits or any other European or Asian or African producer, anybody. But at the time, I just learned that, it's all about networking, no matter where you're from. So I just step by step, just gradually managed to network with like major people in my life. And I also just can say it was just meant to be. Just meet all these people that I have today and the people that I'm meant to meet in the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, already like you seem like a type of guy that if you met someone, you're pretty easy to network with. Is this something that you've always had? Is that something you've had to develop your networking skills and your especially I'm assuming in being in business program like that, you probably have to have those types of skills or it probably helps you.
I never had those type of skills, as a person. I've always been like, not an introvert, but I've always been like a shy, closed kind of guy. Never really like shared my thoughts with anyone, just kept everything to myself. But gradually when I, in my music career, I had to learn to be more open to people, like learn how to connect with people, like, how to form a real relationship and not just, not trying to be a robot,
Right. Yeah, and I appreciate that you're saying that because a lot of producers, I think, fall into that boat. Like they do actually, there is work to be done there, and some of them don't always realize it. So the fact that you realize, okay, that's somewhere where I could improve. I mean, that's very respectable. Talk to me about your music journey. When did it start? Like how did it start? Where did that? Where are the beginnings for you?
As far as I remember, man, it was 2018. I think it was like last year of high school. I remember I was in a Spanish class, and I always had my one of my bros, Jonathan. He would always make beats on Logic Pro, and I would just sit by him and like, bro, what are you doing right now? And he's just, I'm making beats. I'm like, you make beats? I'm like, yeah. What program is that? Logic. But at the time, I had a Windows computer, so I couldn't get Logic, so I got FL Studio. And ever since then, man, I've just been like so hooked up with making beats.
Wow, that's so interesting.
That's how it started, man.
Yeah, that's so cool. I talked to Soldado recently, and he had a very similar story where he was on the bus and he saw someone making beats on the bus. He asked him, and that's how it started. Do you still use FL Studio? I assume you do.
It's FL till I die, man. Never going to switch up. Never going to switch.
Yeah, it's goated. Nice. What do you think of the new updates, by the way? Like, I don't know when you would have started, but I feel like 21 or the recent updates are new to everybody.
Tried 21 yet? I'm on FL20 still. I haven't
Okay.
updated. So, but I've seen like the updates and what you can do. Like you can favorite sounds and all that stuff.
Man,
I need to update. I need to get that real
for
quick because
sure.
that would be time saving for
Oh
me.
man. Yeah, I mean there's things in there they added, just little things that I didn't like I didn't know I'd need, but they help the workflow so much. So I'm really glad I updated. Definitely worth it. Um okay, so you started back in 2018. That's still very recent. You started in 2018. You start making music. Are you making beats only? Are you making samples? Like how is that going for you at that time?
Started as a type beat producer in 2018. I actually started, making XXX type beats. That was because he's my all-time
Mm,
favorite artist.
mm,
And for some reason, I don't know why, but my first beat got to like 10,000 views just out of nowhere. I don't know
wow.
how, why, without any marketing, buying any
That's
ads or
crazy.
anything. It just got to 10,000 views. And I just kept saying to her, all right, let me just continue to make these X type beats. And I did that. And gradually it would just get to 15,000 views, 20,000 views. And, people loved it. And then people would just tap into my Instagram and just like, yo, I love your beats. Can I buy some of your X type beats? Blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I started doing like the regular shit, like Rich the Kid type beats, Migos type beats and all that stuff. And then my views would drastically drop down to like 20 views, 10 views.
Bruh.
But that's how it started, man. But after like I would say like a year until 2019, I thought to myself, I don't think type beat is the way for me to break it down in the industry. So I then started doing samples in 2019.
Hmm. And what I really again I think it's really interesting, like you're describing your thought process behind some of what the decisions you made, and I think it's interesting, like what about the type beat, because I mean getting 15 or 10,000 views on your first beat is insane. So especially in this, like in the past couple of years, that's crazy. So what caused you to switch to samples and go, okay, you know what, this is the way that I'm actually going to go?
At first, I just wanted to make money. To be completely honest, that's why I
Yeah.
started with Type Beats because I saw like Cash Money, AP, Josh Petruccio, Young Taylor, all these people. I like even before I started making beats, I just subscribed to their channel and listened to their
Mm,
beats. So those were kind of like my inspiration. I'm like, yo, if they could like make a living off of Type Beats, so could I. But I quickly found out in 2018, like or 2019 that maybe it's like too late for me personally because typeface is so like overfloated and everything is just saturated the market right now and still is.
right.
So I just switched to like sample making.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's really as simple as that. Like I find that a lot of times, for me at least too, when I think about these things and I know like, okay, I know these things and I know what the best decision for me is, and I know I sometimes hesitate on just making the switch. Um, and I find that the people that are successful in music, especially, that's one skill that they have is they make a decision, they just go with it, and they keep things going. There's not a ton of hesitation. Um, Okay, so you switch into sample making. How are you learning, samples at that time? How are you learning to do this?
So I actually played piano since I was 6 years old. My mom and my dad put me on to piano lessons, which was very boring,
Yeah.
but at the same time, looking back now, I'm very grateful because this makes things so much easier for me. I had to learn notes and, all these different chords, progressions, all that. But I did quit early though. I went for like maybe a year or two, but I still play like actively for myself. Like I just play anything that was in my mind and just laid it out on the keys. So that was a big part because my dad is a keyboard player as well. So he used to
Mm,
play for like famous Middle Eastern artists back in the day when he was young. So
mm,
that was a big part, a big help for me to how to play the keys. And also, I think it just naturally I was just good at it. It just not to sound like and not to brag or anything. It just naturally good at it. It just I just did it. It just happened. I didn't watch a lot of tutorials back in the day. I just experimented with FL Studio. Maybe I'd watch like the best VSTs here and there, but I didn't watch like proper tutorials on how to make a certain type of sample or anything. I just did it all by myself.
very cool. Yeah, and I'm with that. That this, like to be at a place where you're able to have an idea in your head, or you start to create and you just let everything flow and it comes out. That's really like, that's a good place to be. And so the fact that you were able to be there that early is really interesting. As you're learning and as you've gone forward, were there some things you started to pick up, maybe through tutorials or maybe through people you're working with, that you're starting to take? Or again, are you kind of quite focused on your own process and you trust your own process?
I'm always been solo. Like 95% of my samples that I send out is just my name on it. I mean, right now I've been more open to collaborate with people, but
Right.
like since I ever started, I have picked up like major tricks here and there that I learned from people that I connected with back in the day. They learned me like, oh, have you heard about growth speed? And if you could do this and that with the automation or whatever. So of course, I have picked up everything and learned from a lot of people around me. I just I haven't been like, self-centered, like, oh yeah, I know everything. No, I have
Yeah.
picked up everything from a lot of people around me. And I think like after like a year or two, maybe I started also watching like Nick Mira making beats. So I also
Mm.
picked a lot from Internet Money as well at that time.
Yeah. Okay. And I have a question about that. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I always ask this question. It's kind of an old topic. People don't talk about it as much anymore, but what are your thoughts on creating, an insane amount, or like having that high output? I know some people are very against, like, oh, creating a bunch at once. Like, what are your thoughts on that? How does your creation process usually go, and how is speed involved within that?
When I sit and make, right, whether it's beats or loops, but since I'm mainly a sample guy though, but when it comes to samples, I like to take my time. I'm a quality over quantity type of guy because I believe, I mean, you can have a lot of samples and beats sent out and you can still get hit, but I also believe that, if you also focus on quality, that same, percentage of hitting a placement can also be the same, when it comes to like quality type of stuff. So I take my time. I'm not the type of guy to use like, 30 minutes on a sample or an hour. Most of my days, it's just like 3-4 hours on two samples,
Right.
maybe more. Because I'm so driven when it comes to that creative part. Because for me, it's so important, and it's always been a goal of mine, and it always will be, like, to stand out, to differentiate from the rest of the people. Like
Right.
I don't want to be known as the guy. Oh, right, he's the type of guy who makes 4 PF loops or paint time. No, I've never done it. I will never ever do that. So for me, that creative part, like, a big inspiration for me is Kanye when
Hmm.
it comes to his production. Like the way he just, his mindset and everything when it comes to music, it's just so inspiring. That's the type of level that I want to reach one day, hopefully.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. And what about his mindset? Like, I mean, you did go into quite a bit of detail, but what about his mindset do you aspire to reach? Like, what about what he's doing is inspirational to you as a producer?
When I looked at his documentary on Netflix, it was just so inspiring to see how he really moved. Went from city to city, to labels to labels, and just played his music. Like you could see his passion and what he was trying to
Hmm.
push out. That's the type of thing that I also want to do. It's just really inspiring to see, how he really moved, and when he put his all into a beat. It's just so fascinating to see him do that, and that really inspires me as well.
Yeah. Tell me about your first, maybe it doesn't have to be placement, but maybe your first moment of, I know you said you were hooked right away, but was there maybe a moment where something went really well for you? Maybe it was your first placement that you thought, oh, okay, there's something really, like, there's something here. Or were you always just like, nah, it's going to work out. I'm solid.
Actually, sometimes I would say to myself, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. I have 100% belief in myself. I know I can do this. I know I can do it. It's just a matter of time. Another part would be like, but so I really dabble into. It depends on my mood. I really dabble into
Sure.
like back and forth. But I think the placement that really got me excited is when I got a placement with someone called Willpower.
Hmm.
He is my day one. He is a big, big songwriter. He's written for some of the biggest stars in the industry. when I met him back in the day, we've been locked in ever since, and he always gave me like major names to send beats to. But he's an artist himself too, incredible writer. When I placed him, because I remember I did like 4 or 5 on his album like back in the day, like 2019 or something. That got me gassed up. That really just made me like, whoa! I landed like 4 or 5 beats on his project, or a guy of his caliber. So I think that was my first really exciting placement. But of course, I'm grateful for every placement, whether it's a major artist or a small artist, because at the end of the day, I'm me as a producer. I'm sitting here competing with hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of producers out in the world, to get placed to a certain artist, and for that artist to drop my song, that's really special. So every placement is special to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll have to look him up. That name rings a bell. I'm sure it's come up at some point for me.
Fire, dope songwriter, man. I owe my life. He's always been kind to me. Always said, when you come to Atlanta, you can just stay at my place for free. I'm going to make sure that we get into big sessions with major artists and etc. So he's always been loyal and day one for me, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how did you meet him?
I think I DM'd him on Instagram. I think I DM'd him first on Instagram. I don't know how I got into it, but I remember I DM'd him first, asking him to lock in, and ever since it's just been a beautiful partnerships between us.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious about this now. It's when you start making samples, you're doing your own thing. One of the things that people take some time to learn, sometimes it takes quite some time, is the etiquette with sending out samples, reaching out to people. Is that something that, again, just came naturally to you because you kind of understand, how that interaction might work, or did it take some time to learn? And even just with sending out samples, like, how did you start? Were you sending out big packs? What was the vibe with you there?
At the start, I sent out maybe like 10 to 15. Every time someone asked for a sample pack, I sent like 10, 15, or maybe even 20. And I used to do like every like 3 or 4 other day to send when I send out. But nowadays, I send out once a week, and it would be like 5 or 6 samples max.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I used to do that before, but I learned that, as I said, for me, quality over quantity has become very important to me. So I don't really send out like big packs when I first send out today.
Yeah, and that's I'm hearing that a lot more too. Like Soldado said the same thing. He said smaller packs are what I'm doing now. Right. So yeah. Now I had a question off the top of my head. Are you purely still a sample maker? Are you making beats every now and then?
It's too, but for me, it's just a harder time to place beats versus samples, because I've developed a network with producers who can place beats. So I haven't got to that level yet where I can just send out like beats to any artist I want. I mean, I have sent occasionally, but mainly goes to samples.
Okay. And you don't have to answer this. I just get curious because I know everyone has a different process, but when you're sending out samples, are you sending like, the same pack to everyone on your list?
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. That's a very funny thing that you asked, because I actually talked about someone this a couple of days ago. I've seen this like on producer pages on Instagram where people like complain about why you're not sending me the same pack to everybody else, like blah blah blah. I'm like, listen, if you expect that me as a sample maker going to make you an exclusive loop pack to like 50 plus 100 plus people, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind, because first thing is, the major producers who sit there and complain about it, they have the freedom to really just do music anytime they want. Yeah. So, and me, who is still in college, I cannot sit here and make like exclusive samples to every producer that I know of. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy ask. Yeah.
I mean, and the crazy thing is that they complain about that, and they also complain about the lack of communication. I think communication is important. Like, if you have a sample, if I sent you a sample, and you don't say to me, you're like, yo, bro, can you just hold on to this sample for a while? Then then I don't see what the problem should be. You just communicate. Just tell me, hold the sample or not. And
Yeah.
if not, I'm just going to move it and pass it to the next person, because at the end of the day, the world moves so fast. The music business moves so fast. So we don't got time to wait.
Yeah, that's right. No, I completely agree. And when I started seeing more of this in producer pages, this exclusive, beats and samples and these people like arguing for it, and I see what they're trying to say, but it is insane to me to think it's exactly what you're saying. Um, yeah, no, I totally agree.
If you have like, if I had Wheezy in my phone book, and he
Yeah,
asked me like, "Yo, I need an exclusive pack," I'll happily make one
yeah,
exclusive pack for him. But
yeah,
if they expect that every time I send them that they need an exclusive pack, that wouldn't work.
yeah, no way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you're building your network now, what kinds of things, I know you DM'd Will there for your to network with him, but is that because I know you're in Norway, I assume that utilizing online platforms is a really big part of your networking.
Yeah, oh yeah. Social media is the number one thing for me and for anybody who's overseas. In Norway, the music scene here is very boring and stale. Like, if you want to go into the music business internationally, here you got no chance.
Mm,
If you want to be an artist here, it's just purely for the Norwegian audience.
right,
If you want to go international on the global scale, you gotta tap in with the U.S. people. So
right.
social media has really helped me a lot to connect with the people that I met today.
Okay. So you said you're moving to New York for university. Are there other trips you have planned to get, knocked down, or are you focused on getting a degree done and then you're gonna go venture out more?
Once I get there, I'm going to make a lot of trips to Miami, Atlanta, LA. But I'm not going to like totally drop out, but
Yeah.
it's just going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more music oriented than school for me, because I
Yeah.
really want this to work. And now I
Yeah.
got a chance to actually be there in person with the people that I have connected with. We can now just go to sessions together, have just chill together, be more creative, relationship in real life, face to face. So that just means a lot to me. So I just need it to work.
Yeah. Okay, so take me through actually one question I gotta ask first is what did you do with Kanye? I'm sorry that I didn't know that you worked with Kanye. That's crazy.
So I met with one of the VPs from what was it? I think it was Atlantic Records or something like that. I don't remember the label name. I had locked him in for a while. I've known him for like 2 years, I think. He sent me a message like, "Yo, I'm in the studio with Kanye, with a bunch of producers here. Send me a big sample pack." So I sent him a big sample pack, and this time I actually sent 15, 20 sample
Yeah.
packs, because when I saw the name Kanye, I was like, "Whoa, okay,
Yeah.
now I can't miss this. I gotta hit this." So I
Yeah.
went through my folders, picked up the best samples that I think would fit Kanye, and they ended up using one. So, and they ended
Wow.
up recording it. So all praise to God. God did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing, man. Which song was it? If you don't, I should have known this, but yeah.
Called Saint. It didn't actually go out to the Dawn the album, but it's on SoundCloud now.
Right. Right. That's awesome. Still, no, that's amazing. Cool. And so you've worked with Kanye. You named a few other names. I know you have one with Dua Lipa coming up, or potentially. How did that? Like, again,
It's
that's
coming.
huge. Okay.
It's
Okay.
coming.
That's huge.
You know, I it's always something I really wanted to do, is branch out in the pop world. I just don't want
Yes.
to stick to rap.
Yeah.
That's also a huge thing important to me. Not just stick with the rap music. I also want to do pop, R&B, EDM. All
Have
these types of things, because I have been producing pop and house music or whatever since the beginning. I haven't just done trap music.
right.
So this is something like I really am excited for, and Latin music too. Just branch out and just be different, because
Hmm.
when you have all these genres that you could create, it really helps with like the creative part of your music process too.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Especially, I know a lot of people that I speak to that are really, really incredible sample makers. A lot of them have started to tell me that they'll study EDM, or they'll look at EDM tutorials, and the things they've picked up from that is a game changer. So absolutely, that makes sense. Would you ever produce country music, just out of curiosity?
I have actually had some couple like opportunities to send out to some country artists, but
Yeah.
I didn't know how to create country type
Yeah,
beats,
yeah,
so I have passed on that, but I have had the opportunity for sure. But in
yeah,
the future, maybe.
for sure. Yeah. Okay, so when you're creating samples, what kind of equipment are you using for your process? What works for you? What are the things you like and don't like?
I don't have anything like real life synths or anything gear. Everything is on my computer. Everything.
Hmm.
It's just a laptop and a pair of headphones and a MIDI keyboard right beside me. That's it.
Nice.
That's all I do.
Yeah. What kind of MIDI keyboard do you like? Is it a big one or is it a portable one?
Oh, I think it's a key station. It's called.
Okay. Yeah.
This is like a medium sized one.
Right. And headphones wise, what kind of headphones are you normally using?
I don't have it with me, but it's a Sony one. I don't remember. I think it's like Sony XP or something. I'm
Okay.
not quite sure with the model, but
Yeah.
it's just a regular Sony headphones.
Got you. And for sample makers of your caliber, like the way that you guys, the amount of time that you're spending on your samples, I hear a lot that mixing is a really time consuming part of that process. Is that the case for you, or are you kind of mixing as you go, so it's just all encompassed in one?
I mix it as I go. I don't really like complicate with the mix. I'll put like effects, a lot of effects on it, but I don't really like going to details with like, oh, I need to have this EQ at this much, and I need to do that and this. I just
Right.
let it flow. I just experiment. See what fits, what doesn't fit, what sounds pleasing to my ear. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really pay that much attention to like the mixing part.
Interesting. Yeah. What kind of VSTs are you normally using? Like, where are you getting your sounds from?
I like Analog Lab, of course. That's
Yeah.
everybody knows that. I like Omnisphere. I like Nexus 3. I've really been into Nexus 3 lately.
Yeah.
Just I'm into regular ones. I think it's more important that you find a decent sound, because I don't think there's like any like VSTs out there that just going to give you that fantastic sound. I
Right.
think you need to learn how to sound design and how to make a decent sound good if you know about mixing and
Mm.
effects and sort of all that stuff. So I think that's what people need to learn, because there's not VST out there that's just going to give you that magic sound that going to give you like the number one Billboard hit, right? So you just got to find a decent sound, manipulate it, just have fun, experiment, and just make it sound good. That's what I do, at least.
That's I love that. That's a gem right there. That's a gem right there. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought about music that way when I started. Like, that took me a long time to learn and realize. So,
Also fell into that trap too. I always thought like, oh, I need to have Omnisphere. I need to have this and this. All the best sounds are there. All the hits have been made on there. But no, like any VST works. You just gotta be good at sound designing. And for my instance, it's just sound designing.
mhm. I know we talked about some of your next steps with moving to the States, taking trips there. What other types of goals or things do you have set out for your career? Things, maybe bucket list things that you want to get done?
I really want to do what Metro has done, create an album. Make an
Yeah.
album. That's something I always wanted to do. I actually was very close when I first started making an album with like, small up and coming artists. But I never finished it, never done that. But in the future, I would like to have, big artists on my project. And I don't want to be straight rap. I want to be like a mix of every genre. I wanted to be like, maybe start with like an EDM track, and then it goes to trap music, and then it goes to like dance hall and all that stuff. So I really want to
Yeah.
do that in the future.
I love that, man. I honestly, that idea, like I've been working, or I mean, I've been sitting on it for a while now. I can't even say that I'm actively working on it anymore, but it was a very similar idea, like a project like Metro. It wouldn't have been bigger artists at that time, but I had these like artists, local artists or smaller artists that I'd been working with. And I wanted to put together just a project that could showcase like my different genres that I could produce. And it was actually that I think the first track was literally an EDM style track. It was one of the first that I'd ever tried to produce. Um, I think so. Either way, I think that's really interesting, and I think absolutely with your connections, you could pull off something really, really crazy. Um, and I appreciate that because I know other producers too will kind of like delve into that sometimes, but including myself, like I didn't fully see it through yet. So I'd love to see that for you. Um, yeah. What's a quality that someone can have, or a trait, like a character trait that someone can have that makes you maybe not want to work with them, or maybe you're a little more cautious that you kind of step away from? And what are some qualities that you kind of gravitate towards that you would like to work with someone that if they have that type of character trait?
A quality for me, if I want to work with you or maintain a relationship with you, just be genuine, man. Just being genuine comes a long way. When I posted that Dua Lipa snippet, a lot of like producers that I hadn't talked back in, that I haven't talked to like many, many years, man. I'm talking many years. Suddenly came crawling back like, yo, what's good? How you been doing? Crazy. Let's lock in it again. It's been some time. Just be genuine, like, because you really don't know who the next person, what the person can do. The next person it could be in the future. Like, I could have someone in my DM right now who could be like the biggest producer who I don't know. So you got to treat everybody equal and with respect, no matter how many followers they have. Not that it even matters, but apparently matters now for a lot of people. No matter what their status is or whatever, just treat everybody with respect and equality. That's it.
I know a lot of people will focus on their brand a lot, like heavy, and then they're not really even focused on the music side. It looks like you've taken kind of a different turn where, like, bro, your focus is clearly music. You've gotten that part down pat. You have your credits, you have the connections, everything. Is like content or making content ever kind of in the future for you? Like, is that ever something you've thought about to any extent, or is that it's not really your thing?
No, I don't see myself like posting like shorts, for example, TikTok videos, like how to do this or that. I don't see myself doing it. But I actually did talk to Peyton about this a couple of days ago. We had a phone call, when it comes to branding and like show your face a little bit more, because I've always been like a very reserved guy. I always been like behind the scene type of guy. A lot of people don't know my moves except me, because I'm very, very like very, hush.
Right.
I'm not saying to anyone. But as the years have went by, I've been more open to like show my face more, let the people know who I am really. So in the future, content-wise, no, but showing my face more and show the people who I am and what I do, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a great idea, man. You even have the look. You got some like the glasses are sick. Like, you got to look for you. So
that's a trademark, man. For the people who really know me, I have used these glasses like for years.
That's awesome.
It's been my go-to look.
I love that. I was gonna ask about the glasses actually, so that's good. That's yeah, it stands out. That's awesome. Yeah, how'd you meet Peyton?
So he is the co-owner of Best Kept Secret, which is one part of management that I signed to. I signed to two places, Best Kept Secret and Chi and Verse. So I met Best Kept Secret in 2020 when I talked to their CEO of the company, Zach, by the way, shout out him. I asked him if he could be my manager. He said no, we're not currently like signing anyone, but feel free to send samples my way onto this email. So I did send his samples, and like a week later he hit me back like, yo, you're really fire. Would you be down to sign to us? I'm like, sure. And this was in like around Christmas time in 2020. So I ended up signing to him. Then it's like 6-7 months later, I met Chi. He told me, are you signed to anyone? I was like, shit, I'm
Oh,
currently signed to Best Kept Secret. So I called my manager and said, "Yo, Chi want to sign me as well." And you know how big he is and how much he means to the industry. Would you be mad if I also had to deal with him too? He's
hmm.
like, you know what? This is not going to affect any relationship if you go and sign to him as well. We will always be bros, and I will always keep you posted with any opportunities. Go and sign to him. I have no, just go. I don't care. You'll always be my bros. I'm like, thank you, bro. So I called Chi Chi and he said, yo, I'm signing to you now. Let's get it. So yeah,
Yeah, okay, that's really wild. I mean, you don't find that like crazy. I mean, there's a lot of great people in the industry, but you don't find that crazy often. And for you to be that connected with, with Best Kept Secret, and then just for them to let you do that is pretty. I mean, I'm sure they're great, but like
oh yeah.
that's
I
yeah.
mean, their
So
CEO. I'm sorry not to cut you out, but
no,
their
no, please.
CEO, Zach. I mean, he's always been genuine, man. He's always shown love. He always said to me, "Yo, Ray, you're a talented guy. I just want you to succeed." And you don't
Yeah,
find a lot of people who
yeah.
generally want to see you succeed. And the same with Chichi, man. When I first signed to him, the first thing he did is say, "Yo, whatever you need, if you need money or any advice or
Wow,
anything, just hit me up. I'm going to give it to you." And he
wow.
also said, "Yo, if you get a better deal anywhere else, go, because I want to see you succeed as
That's
well." This
crazy.
so I have been very, very fortunate to not once but twice meet people like that. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's crazy. And that's why I'm trying to kind of ask about these things, like even the networking, because, bro, clearly you're doing something right here. Like there's a consistent pattern, you know, especially your
I don't
networking.
know what I do, but apparently works.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, even like all the advice you're giving makes sense, even especially the being genuine, all this stuff. Like clearly, it's all and even the idea of keeping things on the low and moving, on your own and not making it this big show or telling a million people. I've always been a big fan of that. Like I've always struggled with that because I do like making content, but at the same time, I'm very like with my own moves. I really try to keep them to my chest. So you've done a really good job of that. Yeah, I mean, this has been awesome, man. I'm so glad Peyton told me to interview
The
you.
craziest thing is, like, before all this, I was actually supposed to sign to TM88.
What?
Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of people don't know, but shout out TM, man, if he ever watches this. But
Yeah,
I think it's a short story, but I'll tell you quick. It
sure.
was around October 2020. He did put out a tweet that he put an email on his Twitter and told people to send him fire loops. I didn't have Twitter, but a friend of mine screenshotted that tweet and sent it to me like, "Yo, Ray, you got to send your shit." I'm like, "Okay, bet."
Oh,
So I sent my stuff, and next thing you know, he tweeted out my name like, "Yo, whoever producer named Rayan is, we have some fire shit going on." And as I said, I didn't have Twitter, so my friend again screenshotted that same
that's
tweet, and sent it to me. So I had to make a Twitter account. Then I went onto his post like, "Yo, I'm Ray, what's up?" Then he DMs me, then
yeah.
TMT DMs me and say, "Yo, you ever thought about joining a production group?" And I only knew he was in A-Way Mafia. I didn't know he had his own thing. And
Okay.
I said, "Oh, you mean A-Way Mafia?" And he's like, "No, I have my own thing, Crash Dummy Records." And I'm
Mm.
like, hell yeah, I want to join it. But he never saw the message when I said yes.
Oh
But
man.
it's all
Still,
love, and I'm still working with him. We still have, he still uses my stuff from time to time. So yeah, I just thought that was cool, man.
that's a wild story, man. The fact that your friends, I mean, I've had friends send me tweets like exactly like that, where some artist will tweet out an email or a producer will tweet out an email, some opportunities, and most times I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, and I'll send stuff through sometimes, but that's crazy that your friend did that. It worked, and your friend saw the tweet after. Like that's crazy. Um,
Yeah,
that's just a wild story, and I
for
want to
sure.
say I want to say I remember TM88 tweeting something like that, but that maybe I'm just making that up. Um, that's wild. Yeah. Yeah, that like I feel like all these little things would have been huge, just kind of nods or like something that just shows you that you're doing the right thing, like you're on the right path.
Yeah, that was when he tweeted out my name, like we got some fire shit.
Yeah.
That was the moment, like, all right, I'm meant for this.
Yeah.
There's no way that I'm not meant for this. He even tweeted me like a year later, like TM88 X Rayan equals a lightning emoji or something like that. So
That's
I'm just
dope.
like, you know what? Even if I'm not signed to him at that time, he still shows love. So clearly, I managed to maintain a real good relationship and just being genuine.
No, 100%. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. I had a few more questions in mind here. Um, but you've answered a lot of them. Like, yeah, I'm curious about what does your daily schedule look like? And also, I know you said music is your focus. But how are you balancing school, or are you even balancing school? Uh,
I gotta be 100% honest. I'm
yeah.
not balancing it at all. You know,
Yeah.
when for me personally, who are so has so much passion in music and just really just want to succeed and just do it,
Yeah.
it's just very hard for me to balance.
Of course.
I sit here and know that I have finals in a couple weeks, but when I see the little FL Studio icon down at my bottom of my laptop, it's just so hard to not open that
Yeah.
shit and just start cooking up. So
Yeah.
but I try to have a balance. Of course, it's not me saying fuck school or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I tried. I have maintained decent grades. Decent enough to actually continue and get my degree next year. So I try to balance things for sure, but it's very hard, man. It's very
Yeah.
hard.
No, I'm sure. What does your daily schedule look like? When do you normally cook up? Is there some sort of routine, or is it kind of up in the air?
I don't really have a routine like, all right, at this time I need to do this and that. I have classes 3 times a week. Luckily, I
Okay.
don't have to go every day. So I have a class for like an hour and a half. Then I go work out. I work out 6 times a week, so that takes some time. And
Right.
after that, I just maybe chill a little bit, be on my phone, watch some Netflix, and maybe I usually cook up in the evening. That's when
Okay.
I like to cook up. That's when I really think ideas start to
Yeah.
come to me.
And talk to me about working out. Like health and producers has always been kind of a thing where it's up and down, and people have
Oh
some
yeah.
really weird relationships with that. So, the fact that you do work out that much is cool. Have you always been that way? Is that something that you had to consciously start doing more recently?
And always been an athletic guy. I played soccer when I was 6 until I was like 17, 18. And at the time, I also played. I also did, went to the gym as well, but not like fully actively like I do now. But
Mm-hmm.
I always been a very athletic guy. So being like, playing sports or just go outside and do any type of movement that just really, really, really helps me.
For
Really
sure.
important to me. It's very hard for me to just sit still because I feel bad. I think, oh, I need to go out. I need to move. I
Yeah,
need to do some type of workout, anything. So
for
I've always
sure.
been an athletic guy since I was a little kid.
That makes sense. Um, yeah, I mean, you've again, is there anything that you wanted to touch on that we haven't talked about?
I think I'll end up with advice for people who watching.
Yeah.
Life, it's about creation and evolution. In order to elevate, in order to reach your destination, you gotta elevate as a person. No matter what you do in life, be genuine. That's how you elevate as a person. Be respectful. It's all about it's also what's inside your mind. It's all about mind control because whatever's in your mind, you can make your reality. I'm a big spiritual guy. I really believe in like law of attraction and all that stuff. I really believe that whatever you put out in the universe, it will come back. If you have positive mindset, nothing but positive things will happen in your life. If you have a negative mindset, nothing but negative things will happen in your life. So important to keep that attitude no matter how hard life could be. I've been through it. I'm still going through it. I do have bad days as just as anyone else. Like, don't think that just because I have credits that are big that my life is perfect. No, no one's like perfect, no matter how big they are or small they are. Everybody's going through the same thing. So keep that in mind. Just stay patient, which is the number one thing in this industry. Be patient and just be yourself. Be yourself. Don't be anybody else, because you are you. You are one in an infinity. Not million, not trillion, infinity.
There you
That's
go,
my
man.
message.
I really appreciate that message. It actually does answer a question that I kind of had and I didn't really ask. So thank you, man, for your time. Honestly, it was a pleasure. I'm really, really glad I connected with you. And I'm honestly glad I didn't do a ton of research. It was cool to get to know you just through this.
Good time, man. It is a very good time.
Yeah, man, honestly, it was great. I'll talk to you soon. And I'm going to stop this recording now. We'll chat a little bit after. But thank you for taking your time, man.